Welcome into America's Retirement Headquarters, home of the Retirement Guys Formula and America's Medicare Associates. Securities offered through Peak Brokerage Services, LLC. Advisory services offered through the Retirement Guys Formula, registered investment advisor. America's Retirement Headquarters, America's Medicare Associates, and the Retirement Guys Formula are separate and independent entities from Peak Brokerage Services, LLC. Well, thank you so much for joining us and welcome you into America's Retirement Headquarters, home of the Retirement Guys Formula with Nolan Baker. 419-794-3030 is the phone number. That's 419-794-3030. Online, arhq.com. My name is Chris Swan. Today on the show, are you feeling confident about the economy? We've got the 401k changes coming in 2025 and a famous quote from Apple co-founder Steve Jobs on leaving a legacy. All this and more. But first, let me check in. Say hello. Nolan, glad to be with you. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing fantastic. I'd say congratulations, Chris, on accomplishing your first Cub Scout campout.
Mm-hmm. It's been a little while,
so
yeah.
Kind of a big experience, right?
Definitely. I was telling you before the show, my son enjoyed everything except for the sleeping outdoors part, which is a large part of the camping, but he seems open to doing it again. Hopefully the weather will be a little bit more accommodating next time, and we just kind of know the things to avoid and to prepare for next time. But we got one of the bags. Well, it's onward and up from here.
That's true. And then for most of you listeners that have been following along, my youngest son, Carter, he got his Eagle Scout application turned in. So right before his birthday, which is on Monday on Veterans Day. And it's pretty good accomplishment. We're going to be talking about legacy a little bit today, but that's a good legacy for Dad to be able to have two boys that accomplished the highest rank in the Boy Scouts of America, having two Eagle Scouts. And last week we took a quick trip out to the University of Houston. Carter had gotten an opportunity to go out and skate for the college hockey team out there and had a really good experience. So he's got some tough choices coming up in the future as far as where to maybe consider playing junior level hockey and or maybe just head straight to college and play a college level hockey somewhere. So all good stuff, good things happening.
Definitely a lot of great changes coming down the lines and big decisions coming on the way. It doesn't surprise me that you've got two or soon to be Eagle Scouts in the family, obviously taking a lot of discipline. And that is something both with your military background, America's Retirement Headquarters being a veterans-owned business after all, being able to instill that in your children. So not surprised, but still very big accomplishments. Don't want to take away from that. And as always, want to thank you for taking time out of your schedule to spend with the listeners. Let's go ahead and dive in with this. Preparing for retirement, it is hard enough. But I read that if you're a federal employee, you might actually face an extra layer of complexity and red tape. Nolan, is it important to get help from a financial planner who specializes in federal benefits? And are you, as a veteran-owned business, are you that person?
I definitely have 30 years of experience, and one of the things that we do service a lot is our veterans, but we also love to help our first responders, police and fire, and it goes back to that whole concept of what we offer here at America's Retirement Headquarters is that one location to have that comprehensive plan. Not only do I work with a lot of teachers, police, fire, even, some people in the federal benefit market, I can think about some of our other office locations that we have. We, look at our office up in Ann Arbor. We've got, Dan and Bill and Victoria. They've gone through some additional training regarding federal benefits. Here at our office, many of you have heard Dave from the office here, 20 years of experience of teaching, has his wife as a teacher, works a lot with teachers and understands, the state benefits and how that impacts the state teachers' retirement system. And then all the way down south in Florida, in our Florida office, we've got Mike down there, retired from the police department, has a lot of experience in specialty working, more so in the federal benefits. And as they talk about, it is an extra layer of complexity. It's a matter of understanding the rules. And I think that's why it's important to make sure that you get a specialist when you're working in state or federal benefits. There's going to be some different things that are important to take a look at when you're looking at it from planning versus the general public. Number one, a lot of times when you look at state and federal employees, they still have access to pension options. The police and fire, as an example here, have an option called a drop retirement account. State teachers have an option called a PLOP, which is a partial lump sum payment option. In the public world, pensions are pretty much a thing of the past, where in the state and federal benefit department, those options can be very important. As we've talked about our process known as the independent income system, looking at what some of those benefits provide for reliable income is important into factoring in, how to build out somebody's individual independent income system. And then with some of these accounts, you also have the ability where you could take that money, you could transfer either some or all of it over to a self-directed IRA. And then that opens up, the sky's the limits on different investment choices. So again, based upon somebody's individual situations, that extra layer of complexity makes it important that you make the right decision. And that's one of those decisions that's an irrevocable decision. So you better get it right the first time on what choice you're going to take when accessing your pension options. There's also more favorable vesting schedules oftentimes for state and federal employees than the general public. I served in the United States Marine Corps. I was in the reserves. A friend of mine, Jeff, also was in the reserves. And, we jokingly talked about, had we stayed in the reserves right now, we'd have invested for health insurance. And, if I look at what the cost is for health insurance today, that could be a really nice benefit, so somewhere between those 20 and 30 years, you could get a more favorable schedule for vesting and some of the benefits that you're entitled to. Now, on the flip end of the scale, there can be some negatives that people are not aware of as well. Probably one of the biggest negatives that oftentimes will catch state and federal employees off guard is what is called the windfall elimination provision, also known as the government pension offset. And essentially, based upon the number of substantial earning years you have into the Social Security system, you may be entitled to either none or a significantly reduced amount of Social Security. So we talk a lot about Social Security optimization strategies and, how a married couple has a lot of different choices. Those choices become less, and they also can have a big impact on somebody that's drawing a state or federal benefit. The next one is looking at your defined contribution plans. In the state and federal level, they have the Ohio Deferred Compensation Plan. Here locally, if you're working in some of the other systems like the post office or, police and fire, you are having access to what is called the Thrift Savings Plan, also known as the TSP. The good thing about the TSP plan is it can offer some low-cost, simple options to help people save for retirement. The disadvantage of that is when it comes to using those funds in retirement, you have only a limited number of really 5 investment options or the age-based choices. And besides that, you could be kind of limited on what your choices are. You may want to consider, how does the thrift savings plan or the Ohio Deferred Comp plan, how does that plan line up compared to what your retirement goals are and figuring that out. The next one is looking at your federal employees group life insurance. Option B can get expensive. So if you have option B heading into retirement plan and you plan on keeping it, you definitely want to do your due diligence and understand what your options are. Option B can get more expensive as you get older. Now, not everybody needs life insurance in retirement time. So oftentimes in retirement, what we're looking for is using life insurance as an income replacement can be a great option. So heaven forbid if you pass away early, making sure that your surviving spouse is taken care of. And some people will use life insurance in the form of legacy planning. Again, another topic that we'll talk about as well on the show later today, having to help you create a bigger legacy. But your life insurance in many cases is going to get some type of reduction later on. There's oftentimes meaning that you could get a 75% reduction, keeping only 25% of what is your basic life insurance when you get into retirement time. So a lot of these factors go into making federal and state employees' retirement somewhat unique. And that is why here at America's Retirement Headquarters, we would recommend that you work with a specialist. And again, a specialist is somebody that kind of understands the ins and outs and the unique nature of what your individual plan looks like. And then from there, like as always, what we would do is we would work on developing what is called the Retirement Team Action Plan. Within that Retirement Team Action Plan, we're going to help provide a written summary of recommendations, and we're going to break them down talking about taxes, estate planning, asset protection, and money management. And then within each of those areas, we can kind of help walk you through the different choices of, what may be your best choice on taking your pension option, whether it's monthly, single life, joint life, period certain, and or taking a partial or full maximum lump sum option as well. Looking at money management, deciding whether things like your deferred comp or your thrift savings plan are the right solution and the most cost effective, or if there are other options out in the universe of investing that could accomplish your goals, maybe a little bit more efficient. Estate planning, making sure that, again, things like survivor benefits are looked at, all the way down to taking a look at your legal documents and giving you advice and guidance through some solutions and recommendations if you need to get those documents updated, and even things like your beneficiaries. It's all part of that retirement team action plan. So if you're in the state or federal benefit department and you're within 5 years of retirement and you've saved up more than $250,000 in your drop plan, your TSP, or your retirement benefits, you would be ideal to have us work up that retirement team action plan. It's something that we do. It's complimentary for, again, our listeners, and we'd love to put that together for you.
All you need to do to get started is reach out and set up a time to speak with America's Retirement Headquarters. Real easy, 419-794-3030. Whether you are in the the public sector or you are a state or federal employee, you still need to have a plan put in place, and the skill set that the America's Retirement Headquarters, the Retirement Guys formula, has can really help you out with that and create that retirement team action plan. 419-794-3030. Or you can also go to the website, set up a time right there, arhq.com. Thanks to advances in technology, we are living longer and longer. And as medicine progresses, we get more reasons to spend money on our health. Here's comedian Greg Warren.
Probiotics, you know what that is? There's a war in my stomach between good bacteria and bad bacteria. And I'm sure you've heard wars cost money, and my good bacteria costs $100 a bottle. But here's the good news. I read the bottle. Each pill contains 360 billion colony-forming units. So per colony, very affordable.
There's no dodging the fact that healthcare only gets more expensive as we age into retirement and beyond. How do you help plan for that with your clients?
A huge part of what we do here at America's Retirement Headquarters. In fact, it's home of not only Retirement Guys Formula, our investment arm, but it's home of America's Medicare Associates, who, many of you heard from Scott Kirshner talk here on the show, talking about, that is a full-time job that he does. Troy does that full-time here. And then also we have Dan helping out as well. So we've got 3 dedicated people that are working on helping people navigate the landscape of what is out there. We had somebody that we had just met with the other day, and these folks had retired, went on Medicare, and never realized that they had the ability where they could sign up for a zero cost premium Medicare Advantage plan. And that is kind of one of those, again, things that we felt was a no-brainer to add on to their Medicare coverage that they have, because Medicare by itself, it leaves you a big 20% gap. And, Scott would normally be on the show, but right now during that annual enrollment period, I know he is kind of back-to-back meeting with people. Mm-hmm. It's not too late. If you're nearing 65 and or 65 or older, now is the time before the beginning of December that you have the opportunity to review what your coverages are if you're 65 and older. And with the Inflation Reduction Act that's coming in, for 2025, that is going to have an impact on prescription drugs. And so what there is there's a cap on prescription drugs. And, a question that I would ask is, if the government is going to cap what the actual out-of-cost maximum that a Medicare recipient's going to pay at $2,000, are the insurance companies of America, are they going to lose money on that deal? Are the prescription companies going to want to lose money on that deal? And, traditionally, I would think the answer is no.
Right.
And so what happens is, who's going to pay for that cost? And so what you could see, in my opinion, is you could see some of the Medicare plans start to reduce and or eliminate, what prescription drugs they're going to cover. So it's important, if you're in a Medicare plan, make sure you're paying attention and or get a review by our office to understand what changes are happening within your plan. And many times people will buy a plan from, calling one number, and maybe they're working with a captive company. The problem with that is, does that captive company know the plan changes of all the other insurance Medicare providers that are out there? Oftentimes not. And if so, are they going to recommend their plan working for a captive company, or are they going to talk to you about, what the plan is offered from the company up the street? The great news about America's Medicare Associates being an independent firm is we have the ability to help kind of shop out all of those choices and help you take a look at what is could be maybe the best supplemental plan in your situation, what also could be the differences of what's happening with the Advantage plans. I have seen personally the Advantage plans get a lot better in what their benefits are that they offer in the last couple of years. But those are important decisions. Now, the other thing when you look at the cost of health insurance is we also help folks out that are pre-65. So if you're going to retire before the age of 65, you essentially have three choices. You have a COBRA, you have a short-term plan, and then you have the option to go on the Affordable Health Care Act. And those strategies make a big difference. Dan and I were meeting with a gentleman last week. He's retiring. He's got the last couple of months. Ultimately, has the ability to go on COBRA. With his plan that he has today, he's maximized most of his out-of-pocket. He's had a couple of health things that are going on. Probably going to get a couple more health things that he needs to have finished up before the end of the year. And so he's trying to figure out, do I take COBRA now? Do I get a short-term plan? Or do I go on to the Affordable Health Care Act? In his situation, it probably makes the most sense to take COBRA throughout the rest of the year, but then January 1st, look to switch over to the Affordable Health Care Act. The other good news with him is because the Affordable Health Care Act is an income, not an asset test. What we can do is we can look to make sure that we can take and kind of reposition his assets to make sure that we can help keep health insurance affordable until he gets to that age 65. And so if you're going to retire next year and you're going to need health insurance pre-65, you're going to want to take steps this year to test out what your income levels are going to be. And that way, how are you going to pull money from? Are you going to take money and convert it from your 401k to a Roth IRA so it's not countable income next year? Are you going to pull money from non-retirement sources? And if you're going to pull income, what is the optimal amount of income that you want to have to get the correct affordable health care for your family situation? So we also help people that are pre-65. And then the last issue is looking at the issue of long-term care. When you look at long-term care, we're talking about the cost traditionally of a nursing home, but it's more than that. It's more about helping you maintain control and independence. And when we look at long-term care, what we talk to folks about is we talk to folks about the different options. So option number one is do nothing, right? There's nothing that says that you're going to need long-term care during your lifetime. But I would say take caution with that, because if you look at what the cost is of ending up in a nursing home, if it's, $9,000 or $10,000 a month now, what's it going to be in 10 or 15 years from now? Mm-hmm. You could buy traditional long-term care insurance. With traditional long-term care insurance, I think it goes back to what the beginning of this, and that is healthcare costs are going up. So with traditional long-term care insurance, what you have seen is the insurance companies of America are continually to raise the rates on most of the policy holders. So you want to look at, the rate renewal history of the company. You want to look at, how long your rate guarantee, if you have one, is in effect. And then third, we can look at things like veteran business. So again, as a veteran-owned company, there could be ability to get some veteran benefits. Now, dealing with any type of government agency, you've got a lot of red tape. I think the application alone is more than 60 pages. It's important, I think, to work with a veteran service organization and or work with somebody who specializes in understanding, navigating how the veteran benefits work. And if you're a veteran, first of all, thank you. But if you haven't, even if you're healthy now, I think it's important to have a conversation with the Veteran Service Office. We've got a great one here in Toledo, understanding what your benefits look like. Third is looking at leveraging your assets. Usually some of the best options that I like to take a look at for people. So in leveraging assets, it's things like adding riders onto life insurance that would allow you to accelerate your life insurance benefits if you needed help with one of your chronic illnesses, being defined as your inability to perform those activities of daily living. And then there's also annuities. Annuities offer enhanced income payments. A lot of those income payments in life or annuities are not designed ultimately to pay for the full cost of a nursing home, but they're designed to help you leverage your dollars. So in the event that you needed long-term care, you have more income. And again, when we develop a plan, what we're working on first and foremost is we're working on a plan that's designed to help keep you out of a nursing home, to help you maintain control and independence. So when you're looking at the planning for rising costs of healthcare, again, the comprehensive approach that we take here at America's Retirement Headquarters is that team action plan. So we're talking about taxes, estate planning, asset protection, and money management. That asset protection section is an area where we're going to walk you through how to figure out navigating health insurance if you retire before the age 65, understanding what are the changes coming up in 2025 and beyond for Medicare and the difference between supplemental and Advantage coverage, then looking at long-term care planning and how to protect your assets, hopefully without buying traditional long-term care insurance, but doing it while you're young and healthy so you don't have to do crisis planning in the future as well. So lots of different choices. Again, another area that we can help you with planning for the rising cost of healthcare.
And all it takes to get started is reaching out, setting up a time to start establishing that retirement team action plan. 419-794-3030 is the phone number. Again, you can reach out 419-794-3030. You can also find out more about the team, learn about some of the processes, that retirement team action plan in and of itself, and set up a time on the website, arhq.com. Every year, the IRS adjusts tax brackets to account for inflation, and there's another important number the government also tinkers with. That is the standard deduction. Here's CBS News business analyst Jill Schlesinger.
The standard deduction is the amount of money that kind of gets lopped off of the income, and then the IRS taxes everything after that. So for 2025, it's going to be $15,000 if you're a single filer. It's going to be $30,000 if you're filing jointly. It's $22,500 if you are head of household. 87% of people file the standard deduction. So this is an important number, and it's going up, and that's good for you.
That is good, but the other shoe might drop at the end of next year when the Trump tax cuts are currently due to expire. If they're not renewed, the standard deduction is going to go down to the 2017 levels, which means, well, you'll be paying more. So with that in mind, that possibility, what can we do now to take advantage of the lower rates we have today?
Well, with the election last week, I guess no matter, what your feeling is on Washington, the fact remains the same, is that our government has a massive debt problem that we've got into. And it's fair to say that, either side at some point is going to have to make some changes to the tax code that's out there, and dealing with, where we're at and the massive unfunded liabilities that our country has. So what you want to do is you want to make sure that you're taking advantage of lower tax rates. There's two systems of taxation, one for the informed and one for the uninformed. And then what you want to be is you want to be informed in your situation. So what we've done for our clients is we put together what is called the Tax Savers Checklist. It's one of the items that we go through when we go through that retirement team action plan. And again, keep in mind that retirement team action plan, we're looking at a comprehensive overview, and we're trying to identify, opportunities and eliminate threats that people face. The Retirement Savers Tax Saving Checklist has 25 items that we go through. This is the time of year that you really want to kind of get this put in place, because there are going to be different tax laws and rules that expire as early as December 31st. So if you're looking at ways to maybe reduce and or eliminate taxes, not only this year, but in the future, that tax saver checklist is going to be really handy for you. And let me walk you through what we're going to do. First of all, we're going to create a 2024 tax roadmap for you. In the 2024 tax roadmap, what we're going to do is we're going to show you where you fit and where you possibly could end up on the tax continuum. And visually what it's going to do is it's going to show us, is there a planning opportunity with where you're at today to look at trying to minimize the taxes of where you feel in the future. And the conventional wisdom is wrong in the fact that they have taught people to save and invest in tax-deferred retirement accounts, because when you get into retirement, your tax rates will be lower. After 30 years of doing this, I would say that many of my retirees, their tax rates are the same, if not higher in retirement time, especially when you add the fact that, Social Security is taxable for many retirees. So for those people who were successful in saving and investing, they could be at the crosshairs of where higher taxes are going to be. And the reason being is the biggest or second biggest asset that a retiree owns is either their house or their retirement account. And so in taxing your retirement account, it could be an easy solution. In the tax savers checklist, what we can do for you is look at doing an IRA to Roth IRA conversion, do an analysis to help you determine if that could be a good approach for you before year end. You have the ability to make IRA or Roth IRA contributions. Now, those contributions can be extended out until when you file your 2024 tax or April 15th of next year. Then what we want to do is we want to look at how to develop your plan for optimization of your retirement account. So where do you draw money from? In an earlier segment, I was talking about drawing money from your 401k or your IRA can affect your health insurance cost, but taking money from non-retirement accounts or Roths may not impact your health insurance costs. So we're going to look at optimal efficiency from withdrawal standpoints. We're going to look at utilizing charitable contributions. So things like if you're philanthropic, making donations to your church or charity, and possibly using things like your required minimum distributions and how to set those up. How to make sure that you're setting up a plan that could be designed to maximize the legacy that you live to your loved ones. End of the year, you've got to look at your capital gain harvesting. You've got to look at your capital loss harvesting. And again, another deadline that you got to hit before end of the year, things like funding your health savings account. So these deadlines are quickly approaching, and most of these companies are on a best effort basis. So I would encourage you now to take the time if you want to look at a 2024 tax game plan.
Quite literally, no time like the present to start planning for future taxes and how to mitigate that tax saving checklist, part of the retirement team action plan. And you can have that on your side, the experience of America's retirement headquarters, by giving a call, setting up a time right now, 419-794-3030. It's 419-794-3030, or the website, arhq.com. Guaranteed income is hot. The most recent numbers from LIMRA show that annuity sales in the second quarter alone soared 26% over last year. But a new survey by J.D. Power found most annuity owners, roughly 60%, actually struggle with understanding the complex nature of the product. So with that in mind, Nolan, and you guys priding yourselves on education, how do you help cut through the clutter?
Cutting through the clutter is extremely important, and understanding an annuity can be very confusing. And I get it, but it can be a great financial tool to utilize in retirement as part of a comprehensive plan. There's kind of two schools of thoughts that are out there. Some think that you should have all of your money in annuities, and some people think that you should have none of your money in annuities. And I think, an annuity can be a tool, and if used correctly, can help provide part of the solution. So it's one piece of a planning process. It's something that, we oftentimes will utilize in the independent income system. So what you want to understand in an annuity is, first, there's three main types of annuity. You would have a fixed annuity, you would have an indexed annuity, and then you would have a variable annuity. So a fixed annuity is a product offered from the insurance companies of America that are going to ultimately pay you a fixed rate of return for a set period of time. And with, decade level high interest rates, what you're able to do is you're able to lock in interest for 2, 3, 5, heck, you could lock in interest for as long as 10 years. The insurance company then would contractually pay you that fixed rate of return. And then at maturity, you'd have an opportunity to either roll it over into new rates, take that money and go somewhere else penalty free. You then have what's called an index annuity. So an index annuity is an account that's principally protected against market loss, but allows you to participate when an underlying index goes up. The most common one used is the S&P 500 index, but there's a lot of different indexes that are out there today. And the more confusing a product gets, I would say the more often than not is something to steer away from. So you want to understand the product design, understand the ins and outs of how your product works. With the index annuity, if you had an S&P 500 point-to-point cap, they would simply take one starting value. They would look 1 year later. If that index is positive, they typically would pay you 100% of the gain up to what the cap or the maximum return is. The third type is a variable annuity. With a variable annuity, it's one that usually goes up and down within the stock market. So you can get more growth, but you have more risk of loss inside of there. And a lot of times people will use a variable annuity because of income riders. So you could add on an income rider onto an account, and then it could provide either a single or joint life income. So if somebody wanted to lay their head on their pillow at night and know that the value went down to even zero, some of these variable annuities will continue to provide income. The second thing is, some of the benefits of an annuity. So again, an annuity is an insurance product, which means it's a contract with an insurance company from the Insurance Companies of America. When you're looking at in guarantees, you have to understand that the claims paying ability is based upon the issuing insurance company. Mm-hmm. So it's good to look at, number one, what is the rating and the financial rating of the company that you're working with? Number two is understand that annuities have additional protections based upon the state that you purchase them in. So the Ohio Life and Guarantee Association has a certain set limit of guarantees here in Ohio, but it's important to understand if a company is insolvent, how do those guarantees work? But the benefit of the annuity is it can provide that predictable income. One of the, I think, number one biggest concerns for a senior and retiree today is outliving their income. And although stocks and bonds are great as far as part of a portfolio, they are not predictable. Stocks can go up and bonds can go down and vice versa. And, with an annuity, you can have more predictable income. You can also have some possible tax advantages. So if you have money that's set aside and, money that you're not going to need, and you think that your tax rates would be lower in the future and you wanted to get compound tax deferred growth, for non-retirement dollars, that can be another benefit. It also, in some of the ones that we were talking about before, like a fixed and or an index annuity, offers that principal protection against loss. So a fixed annuity to me is pretty straightforward. You're going to get a fixed rate of return for a set period of time. With an index annuity, you're going to have protection against loss. With fees, this is an area where I think there's a lot of confusion in the public. People oftentimes will think, well, annuities are very expensive. And that can be true, but it's often not true. There are many no-fee contracts. On the flip end of the scale, though, there are many annuities that are very high fee. So when I think about the low to no fee options, those are going to historically be more of the fixed annuity. They're going to be more of the index annuity. So a fixed or an index annuity oftentimes can be purchased without a fee unless you add some type of rider or benefit onto the account. Where ones that get more of the bad rap, the higher fees, would be more of the variable annuities. Because within a variable annuity, you're going to have the mortality expense ratio, the M&A expense ratio. You're going to have a sub-account cost for the different investments that it's put into. And then you would have a rider cost that's associated with it as well. So variable annuities, in my opinion, are the ones that typically have some of the higher fees that are out there. The next is you have to look at the difference between your goals and objectives of growth versus income. With growth, you're probably going to get more better long-term growth potential, let's say in the stock or mutual fund market, than you would with inside of a fixed or index annuity. And so inflation is something that's important to consider in the long term. And that's why it's not good to have one tool for every single product. In the independent income system, we believe that it's important to have some investments that are designed for growth, but then some investments that are designed for income, why it's important to kind of blend these products together. The last area to pay attention to that is confusing in truly understanding an annuity is what is called surrender charges. And in the Insurance Companies of America, annuities can range from 3, 5, 7, 10 years. Those are probably the most common. I mean, there's other ones that are out there, but those are probably the most common that are out there. So if you purchased a 5-year annuity, that means if you withdraw over what the free withdrawal is within that time frame, you would pay some type of surrender charges. And oftentimes surrender charges are like wasting money. So you need to make sure that you have enough money for liquidity. Oftentimes when we're developing an independent income system for a client, we're looking at developing a plan that's designed to last their entire lifetime, not just 5 years.
Right.
So it makes sense that you could have a portion of the money liquid. You can have money set aside for an emergency, and then you can have some money in things that are a little bit more longer term, because there is also what's called a cost to liquidity. The best example that I could give to you is the cost of liquidity is the interest that they pay you at the bank. As interests go up, bank rates and, CDs and other fixed products traditionally pay you more. But at the same time, as soon as rates come down, your money market account or your bank savings rate continues to go down right away. So there is that cost of liquidity, and that's why it's important, I think, when you're working with a retirement specialist to develop that independent income system that shows you how to put it all together. If you're a listener and you have an annuity, if you missed our event that we did on annuities, talking about the pros and cons, you can jump to the front of the line. By calling our office, we can do an annuity review for you and help you get educated so you understand the ins and outs of what you have. And if you have an annuity that's, 3, 5, 10, heck, maybe it's 20 years old, there are some incredible opportunities with where interest rates are today that having that annuity review can make sense. Or if you're somebody who's getting ready to retire and you're not familiar with what annuities are and you just want to walk through what that process is and determine if an annuity could be a good fit for your situation, I would encourage you to give us a call. We're truly independent. We represent all the insurance companies of America that are out there on the independent space and can help guide you and show you what's available in the marketplace and help educate you about whether that makes sense in your individual situation.
But of course, as he's saying, it can make sense in your situation. It's not right for everybody out there, but certainly we're taking a look at for the benefits that it could provide. But also think of it, going back to the scouting, like a Swiss Army knife. It's gonna. Some of them are going to have some different functions, but maybe using more specialized tools and strategies if that is what the situation is. But you just want to make sure it isn't a one size fits all. It's supposed to take care of everything for you. You want a more comprehensive strategy, which could include an annuity. But again, having that conversation to see how it all works together with that education that the team at America's Retirement Headquarters could provide for you. Just reach out, set up a time, 419-794-3030. Or you can go to the website as well, and that's arhq.com. For decades, Marvel and DC Comics, they owned the word superhero in their branding thanks to a unique dual trademark. But when another company challenged it, Marvel and DC actually lost the trademark because, well, they didn't respond in time. Deadlines are important, and there are a lot of financial deadlines we encounter. A great one, for example, being the end of the year every year. Why is it so important, Nolan, to meet with your financial professional by the end of the year? What opportunities could be missed out on if they wait until the calendar switches over?
There definitely are. There's straight deadlines that you cannot miss, or it's too late. And, I actually am going through a lot of this with my son right now, who's a senior at Anthony Wayne. A good example is if you do not meet the deadline of getting your Eagle Scout requirements before the age of 18, you pretty much missed your deadline and you no longer will be an Eagle Scout. So some of these deadlines are, if you miss them, it's over. And it's important to meet with your advisor before the year end when you're looking at your finances, because the same would be true as these opportunities could be missed. Number one is Roth conversions. If you feel that tax rates are going to be higher in the future than they are today for your family's individual situation, and you haven't done a 2024 tax roadmap, Roth conversion deadlines are December 31st. And if you miss it, then the year's over. You don't have the opportunity to do that. Now, what's even worse is that, here towards the end of the year, we also run up against deadlines of a lot of these financial companies will turn into what's called the best effort basis. So it can't be December 20th and you decide to do a Roth IRA conversion, because oftentimes the investment company is going to say, well, we're going to do our best to get it done, but there's no guarantee that you can get it done. So time is of the essence on these deadlines right now. Number two is 401k, 403b, and 457 contributions. So if you wanted to max out what your contributions are and make changes with what your withholdings are through work, you could have some deadlines for the last couple of paychecks that you get into your 401k, 403b, or 457. Now, when you think about a traditional or Roth IRA contributions, Those deadlines do get extended out until when you file your taxes and or April 15th, usually whatever is earliest. Scott would talk about the importance of making contributions to the health savings account, flexible spending accounts. There's some benefits that you have on flexible spending accounts, and some of those benefits are use it or lose it. And so you want to look at the provisions of your flexible spending account. If there are those use it or lose it provisions come December 31st, you want to make sure that you get them taken care of. Number 5 is tax loss harvesting. So if you have non-retirement accounts, but now is the time of the year you want to look at what your unrealized gains and losses are, and you want to try to work to minimize what your taxation is, and or put yourself in a situation where if you have a $3,000 write-off because of a loss, then that's kind of an optimal strategy to be. At the end of the day, paying taxes on profit is why you do this. That's why you're invested. But if there is a way to minimize taxes, your tax loss harvesting has to be done before December 31st. Number 6 is charitable contributions. Required minimum distributions is a big topic. A lot of retirees will wait until this time of the year to determine taking their RMDs out. But if you're charitable minded, you may want to consider what you do with those RMDs, and you may want to consider using that for charitable contributions. We'll walk you through our tax savers checklist and help you figure out, what are the important deadlines that you need to be paying attention to. And if your advisor is not reaching out to you for the end of the year tax planning, could be worth a second opinion. Or if you don't have an advisor, could be a great way for us to make an introduction. And I'd be more than happy to look at your end of the year tax planning.
As Nolan said, about an hour of your time could be some of the most valuable time you spend on the way towards your retirement, especially when it pertains to saving as much in taxes, mitigating that tax hold that Uncle Sam has on you as possible. 419-794-3030 is the number. Make sure you get started before the end of the year as that deadline fast approaches. 419-794-3030, or go into the website, which is arhq.com. One of the biggest proponents of retiring early is personal finance radio host Dave Ramsey, but only if you follow these steps. Be realistic about your retirement goals. Create an accurate mock budget covering all monthly expenses and save for an emergency fund and be as debt-free, it's Dave Ramsey after all, as possible, including paying off your entire mortgage. Nolan, do you guys, the team at America's Retirement Headquarters, do you have your own checklist when deciding if a client can retire early? What are some other obstacles that someone might have to overcome?
I think Dave Ramsey actually has some really good advice, and I would actually say thanks to Dave Ramsey. I've utilized some of his advice early on in my career, and I think where Dave Ramsey does a fantastic job is helping people get started in life. I know for my wife and I, one of the things that we did was what's called the snowball effect, and that's as young married couple having credit cards and car loans and other debts, developing a system to follow to eliminate each of those debts. And I'm happy to say that, based upon that advice that I got, from listening to Dave Ramsey's advice, I have no credit card debt. I have no car loans, and we paid off our mortgage before our kids went to college. So it's nice to be able to be in a situation that, we have personally paid off all of our debts. And flash forward to today, working 30 years and being a retirement specialist and helping many retirees. When I think about one of the general characteristics of a retiree that's happy, healthy, and out enjoying life, it is the fact that they tend to be debt-free. I do think that it is a good principle, even in retirement time, to avoid those debts, to try to pay off your mortgage before you retire. I also think it's important to save for an emergency. While you're working, to have 6 months worth of money saved up in an emergency account. But when you get into retirement and you're pulling money off of your retirement accounts, in following the philosophy of the independent income system, what we like to do is we like to see people have, anywhere from 3 to 5 years worth of money in non-market risk investments. And that way, if we have another, COVID, or if we have another 2008 crash, or like what we experienced in 2000, you're not in a situation where you're forced to sell off your investments while the market's temporarily down. You have another bucket of money that you can turn to and pull income from and allow those equities to come back. So our checklist that we go through is called the Retirement Team Action Plan. And so within the retirement team action plan, we have about 30 items that we're going to go through on the checklist and looking at the areas of helping somebody retire early. There can be definitely some different obstacles that somebody might have to overcome. And I think that's why it's important to work with a retirement specialist and a team approach in this situation. A couple of the things that could come up with somebody looking to retire early would be, number one is your Social Security benefits would be smaller if you decided to collect benefits early. As an example, for a lot of folks, full retirement age is traditionally, age 67. It varies based upon when you're born. But if you draw benefits at the age 62, you're going to get a lot less lifetime benefits by taking benefits early, depending upon life expectancy, than waiting till full retirement age. So you need to figure out, how do you bridge the gap if you're going to delay taking Social Security to later in life? You're going to maybe want to pull more money out of your other savings account and delay taking things. Your retirement savings is going to have to last longer. If you retire at 62 and you have a life expectancy to say age 90, your retirement savings is going to need to cover 28 years worth of savings. Versus if you retire at age 70 in the same length of time, you only need to, plan for 20 years worth of savings. Mm-hmm. So looking at, vehicles, longevity that can help address the issue of longevity risk can be important. I think 401ks, I think IRAs and, stocks and bonds are a great part of a portfolio, but they don't necessarily, help address what is called the longevity risk. That's where it's things like making the correct decision of when to draw Social Security, because that's income for life. It's making the correct decisions on things like your pension option. You can take oftentimes single life, joint life. You can take, the lump sum, partial or full out. There's ways to supplement that income with things like annuities that can provide, more predictable income. And then you also need to find out how to navigate the health insurance environment that's out there as well. So with health insurance, you've got the three different phases of health insurance. You've got navigating the health insurance unless your employer offers some provided retiree health insurance, which is not as common today as what it used to be. In navigating pre-retiree health insurance, if you have a shorter time frame, you'd want to maybe consider what COBRA options are available. If that is a choice for you, you'd want to take a look at what is the short-term health insurance options are available. And also, if it's going to be maybe even more of a longer time frame, maybe you're in a healthy situation, you'd want to consider how to navigate what is called the affordable health care. And in each of those options, with affordable health care, it's an income, not an asset test. So the cost of your health insurance can be dictated based upon what your countable income is. There's a lot of people that will come in and say, Nolan, we can't afford to retire early because we need our health insurance. We can't do it because of health insurance. And surprisingly, what we do is we show them how to work out a plan and show them how to set it up that actually makes health insurance even more affordable, that allows them to be in a position that they can decide to retire early. Again, they just didn't know how to navigate what the system is that's out here. With that retirement team action plan, we're going to take a look at all of these areas. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to take and we're going to stress test your overall plan to help you decide if you can retire early. In stress testing your plan, what we're going to do is we're going to take all the information and we're going to take your savings rate. We're going to take your current investment balances, what your investment allocation is, what your Social Security strategy is, and then we're going to run a couple of 1,000 scenarios. And what the software is going to do is it's going to show us the number of times that you make it to the end with money left over. And I would say that your goal is to have 90+% probability of success of stress testing the plan to make sure that you make it to the end with money that's left over. We then have the ability, if it's 90% or less, what we can then do is we can go in and we can look at the probabilities and we can take and figure out, what are the reasons why we didn't make it to the end? An example of that could be a major market downturn right before you retire. Well, that's good to know because of the fact that there's certain investments that you could pick that could help protect you against a market drop. Or there's downside risk management programs that you can put in place using technical analysis to try to limit losses. You could have a longevity risk. What if you live longer than age 90? Well, again, there's financial products out there that are designed to do that. So when we look at the areas that decrease the probability of success, it helps you as an investor make a more informed decision as far as what is the best products or could be the best products to accomplish the goals and objectives that you're looking to do. Instead of chasing investment results, then you have investment decisions based upon your own unique situation. And then if the results aren't strong enough, it allows us then as your advisors to go in and start to say, okay, well, what if we did this? What if we worked 1 year later? What if we saved a little bit more? What if we reduced the risk over here? What if we changed the plan? So if you're looking to retire early, and if you're within 5 years of retirement, you're the type of investor, if you've saved up more than $250,000, that would benefit from us helping you answer that question. Can you retire early? And we'll do that by putting together that retirement team action plan and make you confident to get not only to retirement, but through retirement. That's what we do here at America's Retirement Headquarters.
And that all begins with a phone call, 419-794-3030. If it is your desire to retire early and they run the numbers and they don't quite align, don't think of that as a shortcoming on your part. At least now you'll know what that is and the steps that can be taken to get you on track. But it all starts with having that team action plan put together, that retirement team action plan put together in the first place. So once again, that number, 419-794-3030. You can always set up a time, find out more about the team at America's Retirement Headquarters, and schedule a time to speak with them at arhq.com. I want to thank you, as always, for joining us here on America's Retirement Headquarters. It is, after all, the home of the Retirement Guys Formula and America's Medicare Associates. Hope you have a great week ahead of you. Nolan, appreciate you. I know Veterans Day is coming up on Monday, so happy Veterans Day to you. Thank you so much for your service and the service of all the veterans at America's Retirement Headquarters. Before we wrap up, I do want to leave you with the final one.
I would agree with you, Chris. I would say happy veterans to all of you. I appreciate all of our veterans out there for what you do. Thank you so much. We truly appreciate it as a veteran-owned business ourselves. Enjoy your day, and for the rest of you, enjoy your week. Remember, when you think retirement, think America's Retirement Headquarters. It's home of America's Medicare Associates and the Retirement Guys Formula.
America's Retirement Headquarters is located at 1700 Woodlands Drive in Maumee, Ohio. You can reach them by calling 419-794-3030 or online at americasretirementheadquarters.com. Exposure to ideas and financial vehicles discussed should not be considered investment advice or recommendation to buy or sell any financial vehicle. Investments can fluctuate and when redeemed may be worth more or less than when originally invested. Nolan Baker is not affiliated with nor endorsed by the Social Security Administration or any other government agency and does not provide legal or tax advice. Please consult with your attorney, accountant, and or tax advisor for advice concerning your particular circumstance. Annuity guarantees rely solely on the financial strength and claims paying ability of the issuing insurance company. By contacting us, you may be provided with information about insurance and annuity products offered through Nolan Baker, Ohio Insurance License Number 27787.